vui trong ánh sáng. Em thương sắc hoa tươi, em thương sống nơi nơi. Ta thu vào ống kiếm.
Look at this donut tree over here. I need to be adopted, so I can come to this meeting. You'll get a little bit of my bio as we go through this talk because my photographic evolution has been an interesting one. Is there anybody here who's a scuba diver? Yeah, it'll be even more interesting. Do you photograph underwater? A little bit, okay. Well, those are my origins. That's how I started photography, is underwater. Well, not quite how I started photography, but as I evolved, I have an interest in capturing motion. Because I think that so much of what we see moves, and I think it should be a part of our photography. It should be something that you're comfortable doing. Even landscape, even flowers move. And as you'll see, there are ways to use your camera to capture that motion. Enemy, this thing with these tentacles, which is like an upside down jellyfish that's fixed to a rock, and each one of these tentacles are poisonous, but it has a defense against those poisons. I don't know that you can see it, but this was taken at 1/15 of a second, because clownfish are they're going in and out of the anemone, and they're moving and they're showing off. So why not show the anemone tentacles with a little bit of blur? Why not show the clownfish with a little bit of motion? Because that's what's happening underwater. Learn how to shoot them. And that was the same thing as with fish. So I got to be known as a bird photographer, but in truth, I love photographing anything. I don't really care. But I like having the motion in it, because after all, you can take a picture of the eagle standing on the beach looking at salmon, but who knew that they skipped with joy for a rotten piece of salmon down here on the beach? You know, it's just fun to put that action in there and put some life to the animal. It's quite dark, and it's quite light, and you want to darken it down, but you still need flash on the subject. What do? You have to slow the shutter speed down to let more light in so that the background will light up. Has no effect on the subject because the flash determines the exposure of the subject. This is something that I dealt with a lot underwater. And when you slow that shutter speed down, the pros used to call that drag the shutter. It determines whether these lines go backwards or forwards. And when they go forwards, it looks stupid. Because why are the lines all the way out here when this guy is going from right to left? Why are the lines going left to right? And that's because of the phenomenon of slow shutter speeds and flash. Your DSLR camera has two curtains. One goes up, and then the second one closes it. So that's why when you're shooting at a slow shutter speed, you hear click, click. Now, if the flash goes off when the first curtain goes up, then you're freezing the subject with the flash. But before the second curtain stops the picture, he has moved some distance, and now it's a blur. So the blur is out in front. You can set your camera to what's called rear curtain sync or second curtain sync, and that tells the flash to only fire at the second curtain. Now, if you're shooting 1/100th of a second, it doesn't matter. It's so close together, it means nothing. If you're shooting at 1/30th of a second, first curtain sync would be click, flash, click. Rear curtain sync would be click, flash, click. A little bit of flash because I'm standing in front of her. Rear curtain sync so that as she's spinning counterclockwise, her dress is trailing clockwise. Otherwise, all of the blur would be out over here and it wouldn't make any sense. And because I've set my exposure for my camera to be for the background here to be dark, it comes out black. If I had dragged the shutter and opened it up even more, there would be more exposed up here. But no, I just want what's in the flash. And you can see some lights behind you too, but you want just what's in here. So festivals and stuff like that, it's really fun to play around with at night to do this kind of photography. Make a book out of it, stuff like that. I've taken that idea and put it in my head for every time I go shooting. Think portfolio. Go out to Huntley Meadows. What am I going to shoot today? How am I going to make it look? What are my objectives? Think of what you're going to do, and that always is going to include, yeah, there's a beautiful bird sitting there. It's a great pose. Yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm also going to sit here and wait until it takes off and be ready and have that flight shot. So, oh, thank you.
Just a little thing from here she has.
Oh.
It's not made of gold, but it's a gold medal.
Thank you. I'll put that on the camera bag.
This is the little token from all the members here that we would love to have you here, and really appreciate your time. The hot day here and come to give us a wonderful
Well,
presentation.
I love doing this, and the reason why I like doing it is because it makes me work. Right? There's an expression in surgery. You see one, an operation, you do one, you teach one. Right? So when you have to teach, you need to know the subject. And that's good for me, right? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.